Hi guys, hope everyone's well and welcome back to the Improvement Podcast. So in this episode I'm going to touch on a bit of an update on myself. So a bit less of a formal episode, but I will be sure to try and give you as much value as possible, which I'm sure you'll take some bits of information away in listening to it. So yeah, 52 weeks into gaining phase, and I'm going to talk about just through my gaining phase, how I've approached it, the kind of obstacles along the way, how I've worked on the body parts I want to bring up, and also give you a bit of a general life update and touch on how to kind of bring up weak body parts when you are in a surplus, when you're in a gaining phase, because that's ultimately when you make the improvements in your physique. And that's why when we are in a gaining phase setting, we want to make sure our adherence and our consistency is in a good spot. So if you want to maximize your gaining phases and you want to maximize your progress, then we ideally want to treat our gaining phases like dieting phases, in the sense that we want to be just as consistent as when we're dieting, because that's when the progress is made. So something we want to try and avoid if you want to make a lot of progress is just trying to switch it on and be consistent when you're dieting. That's the time when we're ultimately more so just revealing the improvements we've made when we are in a surplus, when we're in a gaining phase setting. So it's not the time we want to flip that switch and stay consistent. We want to be consistent before getting into that deficit. And it has been a year since I have stepped off stage and won the World Championships, the DFAC World Finals as a junior. And the year's flown by, to be fair, and I am very much looking forward to being back on stage. So the next time I will be on stage will be 2028, so still a while yet. So I'll probably be competing round about 3 years, just under 3 years, probably 3 years and 40 weeks to this day. Will be round about my first show of the season. So seems like a long time, but I'm very confident that it will fly in and it will fly by. And before I know it, I'll be starting a contest prep, because when we also break it up and we consider the stints of dieting in between, it's not that long a time to kind of make progress in. We'll say that it is a while, but it will fly by. I'm very confident to say that. So yeah, I pretty much, although I'd done well, I don't think that made me complacent in any shape or form in terms of how I placed. Obviously, I could have done better last time I competed as well, but I feel like I've got like a fire lit under me, and I've got that standard to uphold, which is why I'm partly taking so long off, and I feel extremely driven to do well next time I'm on stage. So I am up 32.5 pounds since my show, which is round about 0.6 pounds a week. So if we think about gaining like a rate of gain on a week to week basis, that's not too far off the 1% of body weight a week. So obviously that would be £2.4 a month. Sorry, I said 1% body weight a week, 1% body weight a month, which is a not bad rate to gain at, especially when you get a bit more experience. You want to generally gain at a slower rate. So that obviously puts me, if I gain 0.6 pounds a week, that puts me at £2.4 a month. So, and 1% would be that 1.1. Well, it depends if you're thinking about my body weight when I stepped off stage or my body weight now, but I'm currently 190 pounds. So it is round about that 1% a month mark. So it's in quite a good spot in terms of rate of gain. And the reason we want a nice low rate of gain is because when we think about the rate of muscle growth, it is sadly a slow process. So if we are having aggressive gaining phases and stints of gaining a lot of weight at a fast rate, you're going to end up gaining a lot of body fat that we don't need to gain, and ultimately giving yourself more work to do when you're next in a dieting phase, and also spending less time in a productive position to build muscle. Because if you rush your gaining phases, if you rush your surplus, then what you'll find is you'll need to either maintain or diet much, much sooner. And on that note, something to always consider when you're trying to navigate a gaining phase yourself, or if you're coaching clients, is making sure like you're not being too impulsive when it comes to making food increases. So sometimes you'll have weeks where our body weight doesn't necessarily go up and our body weight stays stable, but that doesn't mean you necessarily need to bump up food. Same applies when you're dieting. If you have 1 week where you don't gain or lose at your desired rate, that doesn't mean you instantly need to slash your calories. What I like to do with myself and clients is like wait 2 weeks. So sometimes we'll have a week where right we maybe didn't gain weight, but I was more active. I done more work hours than usual. I went like a big walk in the weekend somewhere, which bumped my expenditure up. So we've got, and maybe I had an off-plan meal, which I was maybe slightly under my calories. So there's a lot of things that can influence your rate of gain, and sometimes you just have the random weeks where the scale doesn't budge much, but the week after it can then bump up a fair bit. And if you're impulsive and you see yourself bump up food to a sin, then what you'll find is you'll just have maybe a very fast rate of gain the week after if that food increase wasn't warranted. So, and we'll also have weeks where we gain faster than expected as well. So, having time spent at maintenance throughout this phase, where you are maybe just holding body weight for a week or two, is not a problem at all. Like, as long as performance is in a good spot, we don't need to be gaining scale weight in order to build tissue week on, week out. Obviously, it puts us in the best position to do so, but at the same time, it's not a bad idea just tidying up one body weight when we're in a gaining phase to spend plenty of time in that surplus setting. And performance has been drastically improved since I stepped off stage, as you would expect. Really, you wouldn't really, if you've been bulking for 52 weeks, unless you've been doing something silly, you'd expect to be substantially stronger. So yeah, my deficit stiff leg deadlift, I started that on 120 kilos. I'm now doing 190. The chest press, I think I started doing 80 kilos. I'm now doing 125 kilos. Things like my I'm trying to think what other key lifts. So my deficit barbell row, I started on 80 kilos. I'm now doing like 115. So I'm substantially stronger, and I'm stacking the pull down with plates bumped onto it. So I'm substantially stronger than when I started it, which will ultimately result in more tissue. And I'm loving the process, to be fair. Like, I miss competing. I do want to be back on stage. I did enjoy it last year, but at the same time, I just love the process of going in, training, beating last week, and as a result, like, I don't mind taking the long duration off. Like, a big part of building muscles, being patient. Everyone wants to hit their goals overnight, but it's a long process. If you look at anyone with a impressive physique, they've either got very good genetics or they've been doing it for an extended period of time while being very consistent throughout. So be patient when it comes to making progress. And the training split I have been running throughout last contest prep and throughout this grading phase, and the reason why I'm still on this split is it still suits my needs, is a push-pull legs, rest, then push, and a back and hamstrings rest split. So the reason why this suits my needs is it prioritises my upper body, because I have one full leg day and I have legs on the end of back and hamstrings, whereas my whole upper body, I basically do have two pull days with some legs on the end of one, and I have two push days. So I'm training my upper body 2 times a week minimum, and my lower body, you could say 2 times a week as well, but not as much work. So when we think about the amount of work you want to do throughout a weekly basis, you generally want to do more for your weaker body parts and less for your stronger body parts, because your recovery resources is like a glass. You can only fit so much water in the glass. So if in that glass you are filling a lot of water for your strong body parts, in other words, if you're already doing a lot of work for your strong body parts, you're not going to be able to fit all the water in the glass for your weak body parts. In other words, you're not going to be able to recover from and get away with doing as much volume for the body parts you need to do more on. So instead of just spreading it out equally, you can potentially consider doing less for your stronger body parts and doing more for your weaker body parts to free up recovery capabilities and not accumulate as much fatigue for those strong body parts. And generally, like, if you're genetically able to grow those body parts pretty well, you'll still be able to progress on pretty low volume, pretty low amounts of sets on a weekly basis. And what I've also been doing is, on that push-pull legs, rest, push back and hamstring split, I have been tagging on tricep work at the end of my leg day. So just a rest pause set of crossbody tricep extensions in order to accumulate more volume for my triceps. I've also been doing biceps on a Thursday, which is a rest day because I work in personal training, I personal train at a gym. As a result, it allows me to again accumulate more work when I'm nice and fresh. So I actually hit my arms 3 times a week. So I do accumulate more work for them there. And I also do like a good chunk of overall work for my biceps and the triceps throughout the week as a whole, and make sure I absolutely rinse every single set I do, and especially my last set on the exercise, I'm sure to make the most of it when it comes to performing partial reps, holding the stretch. And that's how I'm pretty much bringing up my weak body parts, making sure the split suits my needs, making sure every set's done with intent, progressing my lifts over an extended period of time while taking my body weight up very gradually. And with my leg training as well, despite obviously doing a bit less, it's still going very, very well. And I believe my quads are kind of, and my legs as a whole is growing at like a good rate, and that's kind of reflected upon my performance. So things are all good there. And what I'm also doing is, or what I've also done is, I've added in a bit more overall workload, as I touched on, for my chest, which is a weakness. So I've been doing like additional sets of flies at the end of one of my push days, and I've also got like flies on the other set of push days, so I can get more focused work in for my chest. And hopefully we should see improvements next time we diet down. But something valuable as well is when you're trying to bring up a body part, do something consistently over a long period. Don't keep changing what you're doing, because then if you make progress, you don't know why you have, or if you've not made progress, you don't know why you've not made progress, because you've changed things so frequently. Whereas if I diet down, and because I've kept everything pretty much the same, I've made minimal exercise changes, I've made minimal adjustments to like the order of the session, etc. Like everything stayed pretty similar. If I diet down and I haven't improved, I know exactly what has not worked, so I at least know what to do from there. So yeah, the changes I've made throughout this period has been pretty small. I swapped a squat pattern for another squat pattern, meaning I swapped the true squat for the hack squat. I'm now performing the hip thrust on the Smith machine, and I've added in a fly like I touched on, just because everything's progressing. Like at the start of the off season, I did make a few adjustments to exercise selection after prep, doing a few new machines that I haven't had out, or that I didn't use during prep, just because it's a good time to try new movements, change things when you are finishing a contest prep season. So as a result, I've not really had much stalls or plateaus on my lifts from a byproduct of nailing my variables. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like training consistently, training hard. The progression's there on a week to week basis. And I've not really had much setbacks this gaining phase, and I attribute that to being more sensible when I do have any aches or pain. So in the past, if I had any knee pain, I would just go in and slap more weight on the same movements and just kind of ignore it to an extent and think, hopefully it will go away, and just hoping for it to improve. Whereas now what I have been doing is, if I have any issues regarding like my knees being sore, the week after I'll go in, I'll do the exact same load until I get the green light to jump up, instead of just jumping up week on week out. So your connective tissue takes longer to recover and adapt than your like muscle tissue. So as a result, something that can be good to do is wait 2 weeks before adding load. So if you ever have any sort of joint issues, instead of going up weight every week, go up 1 week, hold that weight the next week, then go up again the week after. And instead of trying to progress, let's say, load every single week, progress reps one of the weeks, if that makes sense. And when you are navigating like how to progress your lifts, if you feel like you could again be more accurate with your form, address that first. But if you do have any pain, like just go for more reps. Don't just chuck more weight on and ignore that issue. So I think that's helped massively of keeping me injury free, and not really had much other niggles. My knees have been a bit iffy at times. Had a bit of calf pain. Apart from that, and my hip flexor's been a bit sore, but you're gonna run into issues. Like if you're consistently pushing yourself, doing things you've never been able to do before, you're gonna get a bit, not, I wouldn't want to say injured. You're gonna get wee niggles here and there. If you play with fire, you're gonna get burnt. So I think that's normal, and nothing to be concerned about, and doesn't necessarily mean you're doing anything wrong. It's just, part of kind of doing business when you're trying to progress your lifts and bring up your physique. And yeah, so gaining phases went really well. I'm really, really excited to now see what improvements I've made when I diet down, and I'm feeling pretty ready to diet down. I've got a holiday that on releasing it, I'll actually be back from the holiday. But I've got a holiday that I'll be going on, so I'm not sure when I'll be dieting. It's not been established yet, but it will not be before the holiday, so it will at least be, I'd say, a 55-week gaining phase. By the looks of it, my diet may start after the festive period, after the new year, but we'll see. It all depends on how digestion is, how hunger is, how I'm looking in terms of a visual point of view. So a lot of things to, of course, consider. And as for like a general life update to wrap things out, so things are pretty good. I am pretty much like very, very close to capacity with in-person PT, and I'm doing, of course, online coaching as well, which both I always hold to a high standard regardless of how busy I am. I try and my best to always make my clients feel like my only client in terms of getting everything done for. Or I don't try, I do. I take pride in that and just holding myself to a high standard and holding my service to the high standard regardless how busy I am, and pride myself on kind of walking the walk when it comes to time management. Like, I can't advise clients to get their goals ticked, to hit their steps, hit etc. if I can't even manage my time effectively myself. So yeah, things are brilliant in that regard. My days are pretty demanding and full on. Like, I'm usually on the go until like 8:30 every single day in terms of working, and then that's when I eat my last meal, chill out, go to bed for 10, and kind of repeat that process with on the weekend finishing work a little bit earlier around the 6 o'clock mark. So yeah, I don't really take much time off, but I think if you're trying to grow a business and make substantial improvements in life, sometimes there's going to be periods of a lack of balance. I think that's needed, especially if you want to kind of have like a good life in the long term. It means maybe not even suffering's the word, because I am by no means suffering. I'm doing what I love every single day, but there's an element of sacrifice in just working a lot that's needed. And yeah, the plan of action is to also move out next year, which is of course tying into me working a lot, but I'd be doing that regardless if I was moving out or that, because it's not about the money for myself, it's just about that progression. Like, if you know me or see me, I've got like, I wear the same clothes for every session. You know what I mean? I don't buy new shoes, wear new shoes all the time. Like, I'm not a materialistic person at all anymore, really. Which I quite like. I like trying to get my dopamine, my sense of satisfaction, my feelings of pleasure, not from materialistic goods. And I almost lean into not fueling that by not buying materialistic things, if that makes sense. Just because I don't really value it. Like, I'm a very simple man regarding if I've got the gym, if I can do what I do on a daily basis that I enjoy, then I'm happy. And yeah, days and weeks are looking pretty similar in terms of my task, my commitments. I have off-plan meal on a Sunday. I'll work the rest of the time, go on holidays now and then, but life's good. I'm loving the process. So really looking forward to seeing what the future brings in terms of competing in 2028 and continuing to basically work really hard on the business and just improving life until then. And I'm looking to put a few clients on stage. The exact dates for a few are yet to be determined, but I've got 4 clients on my roster that are looking to compete at the moment, which is really exciting. And I'm looking forward to taking them to stage, which I'm confident I'm going to do a good job at, and only going to get better at over time with experience. So if anyone is interested in online coaching and want any support, not just when it comes to stepping on a bodybuilding stage, but just general, looking to build muscle, lose body fat, then feel free to fill out an application that will be in the description and also in my Instagram bio. And of course, if you do have any questions or anyone wants to reach out, ask anything, just tell me they enjoy the podcast or that, then you are always happy to message me on Instagram or any other social media platforms. Any support on the podcast is massively appreciated. Bit of a random episode. I was sitting down and I was thinking, right, what should I talk about today? What subject should I make or create an episode on? But I just thought I fancy doing an update. It's what I believe I can talk about for a good duration of time, so I just went with it. So hope you've enjoyed the episodes. Any questions or anything you want to see in the next episode, give me a shout. I'm looking to do a Q&A. I do them every 10 episodes, so for episode 190 it will be a Q&A most likely. So if you've got any questions, feel free to message me ahead of time and I'll be sure to answer them in the Q&A, and hope everyone has a great rest of their day.